Sat Nam, hello everyone. Sat Nam, yogis and yoginis. Hello and welcome to another live stream. Let us tune in today because I think we're going to be doing a meditation. So let us do the tuning in. Join your hands. We will chant the Om Namo Gurudev Namo and the At Guru Name, Jugat Guru Name, Sat Guru Name, Sri Gurudev Name. Sadguren Namem, Sri Gurudev Namem, Adguren Namem, Jugadguren Namem, Satguren Namem, Sri Gurudev Namem, Adguren Namem, Jugadguren Namem, Satguren Namem, Sri Gurudev Namem. Hello everyone. So we don't always tune in, but when I know that we're going to be doing a particular meditation from Kundalini Yoga, I try to do the tuning in. So today I expect that we're going to do that. But initially I don't have anything planned for today except maybe this meditation. Because it's an open day, but today is the day 18th, 1-8. And I was thinking 1 plus 8 is 9. So there's the 1 and the 9, the 1, 8 and 9. So I was thinking maybe doing some meditation about the 1 and the 9. And last year when I was doing the course on mantras, we were exploring the meaning of different sounds. And we had this little book, lovely little book, that is God's in the Word. No, God in the Words, something like that. God's in the Words, something like that. And it's exploring every sound and the kind of words that are associated with that sound and the meaning behind those words. And I remember when I came up with the compound of S and T, ST, and I recognized that the sound ST is very connected to the 1 and the 9. We are doing the numerology course now on numbers. We're on number 5 right now. We will go into number 1 after the summer. And we will go into deeper into that. But yes, when I was looking at the different sounds, ST sounds is something that is like stable and strong and steady and still. These are sounds which are conveying some sort of strength, and that's something that we connect with the element of the earth. Earth is the strongest of the elements, not necessarily the most powerful, because power, we experience power more in the second voice, what we say the 2 and the 8, linked to the water element. Water is very powerful element. But strong, what is strength, that's something that we associate to the 1 and the 9. There's the rock, the strength of the rock, the steadiness of the rock, the static, still of the rock. The rock doesn't move, it's stable and static. The water is in movement, the rock is still. There is also, the ST sound are also connected, particularly with the R afterwards, with something that is straight and street, something long, elongated. And so that's also connected to the 1 and the 9, because the 1 and the 9 are very elongated numbers. Sat Nam Infinity, hello, welcome. We have an open day today. I'm just talking a little bit about strength, but feel free to suggest any topic if you have, or if you want to ask any question or anything that you want to, we can explore. But welcome to the stream. And stream is also, no? Stream is ST sound as well. There is like a path that follows. A stream follows this path. So the S and the T sounds convey something long and narrow, and possibly something strong. So very interesting that I wanted to be doing. I wanted to do this for a long time for many other sounds as well. I haven't done an in-depth research on every combination of different sounds and which number are they associated with. I'm still, looking forward to doing something like that. I know that the letter R is more to the 3 and the 7 and things like that, but I haven't gone too much. I was just now going very, very superficially over the S and the T. But yes, we will do a meditation today, and it's called Meditation for Tremendous Strength, to find strength. And I don't know, it just came because of the day. Today is 18th, so I thought that it would be a good idea to do something related to strength. It's always good to strengthen ourselves in general. I think if we know that there is some difficult period coming ahead, it's good to strengthen ourselves. But it's also good that if we are in a stable moment, ST, in a moment of stability, and everything seems to be calm, and there's no great challenges in the horizon, and there's nothing really pending that we have to deal with. Stress, that's another thing. So in the moments when we are calm, we can get strong to prepare for the moments when we are going to be challenged. Because when we are going to be challenged, it's harder to get strong at that moment. If you have been strengthening yourself before, then you will be able to call upon that when the moment of stress comes. But the moment that you are in a challenging situation, a moment in life, and moments in life, challenging moments in life can be more than a moment. It can be like a year or 2 years. Sometimes something happens and maybe there is some disease or some issue at work or with a family or with a partner. And it can be like 1 or 2 years of hell. So when there's no hell, to be strengthening ourselves, to be ready to deal with a difficult situation, that would always be a good idea. Because when the situation comes and then you are in the middle of the hell, you don't want to have to toughen yourself at that moment. You want to have the strength already within you. Infinity says, it would be interesting if you explain about emblems and the metaphysical meaning behind events happening in one's life. What do you mean by emblems? Like the way reality manifests with the specific objects or animals or whatever. Emblems and the metaphysical meaning behind events happening in one's life, like the way reality manifests with the specific objects or animals. Like the deeper meaning that the sage can perceive in what unfolds in the reality. Have you had any experience like that, Infinity? Do you want to share a particular experience related to some emblem or an object or an animal, something that brought you some clarity about some issue, or it had some meaning for you in some way. I wonder if you're asking about that, it may be because something happened. So feel free to share. Metaphysical meaning behind events happening in one's life. Well, yes, we can talk about that. There is, I think we've talked a bit about how we have a number of karmas to manifest, and they are pending. They are kind of like a bag of karmas. It's called samskaras, that they haven't manifested yet. They haven't manifested. So they are dormant, waiting for the right opportunity. And it is not clear what in us is triggering that opportunity or that situation, but there is some higher wisdom, higher intelligence, and probably it's our higher self who decides now is the right time to trigger one of those. And so something happens, manifests with us in our life, and then something comes to our life. Sat Naams, Sohail, Sat Naam, Isabel, you arrive at exactly the same time. Amazing. Welcome. We have an open day today. Feel free to suggest any topic you want to talk about in the chat, but feel free also to share any story or anything that's happened to you. Today Infinity is telling us about metaphysical meaning of events happening in one's life. So I'm kind of going a little bit on that topic, but feel free to share as well. So it doesn't have to be karmic. I'm just suggesting one of the possibilities, but sometimes we are just ready to deal with something, and we are maybe strong enough, and the life is calm, nothing is happening, and the higher self says, well, you know what, Ardaas, you are ready for the next karma, so let's deal with it. And then something manifests in front of you to work that thing that you have to work with. So it can be a karmic thing, but there can be something else. I will explore the other one in a moment. It's always happening. It's just a higher perspective. So like, for example, if a crow appears and one laces their shoes upside down, or like if someone fell down on the floor, it can mean he'll fail somewhere. Oh, I see what you mean. So it can be in two directions. One, I mentioned, it can be a karmic thing that it's happening. And the other direction is simply that ekonkar, we are all connected. We are all united in some way. So if a crow appears right now, then we are connected, the crow and I. Now, does that crow have any special meaning or not? Well, it depends. If we had to find meaning to everything that happens around us, it would be impossible, because we have only a certain amount of attention and awareness that we can dedicate to something. And if we are walking in the street, every motorbike which is noisy passes by, and then every little kid who is like suddenly falling down, and then every person that is suddenly very surprised in the phone, and then the next person is wearing all black. Are we gonna interpret the bike and the kid and the phone and the black? If we have to give meaning to everything, it would be first impossible, and second, it could actually be too much, like obsessive, like the mind can get too obsessed about signs. So it's like numerology, but for events unfolding, not just numbers, the symbology behind what happens in general. Yeah. That's what I mean. So if we are always looking for signs, we're always going to find signs. And that's dangerous, because the mind loves these kind of games. I use the word games now. It will not become a game in a moment, because there is a reality to what you are saying, infinity. There's some things have meaning, and then we can talk about that. But not everything has to have meaning. Not every time we look at the watch and it's 11:11 has a special meaning that we have to pay attention to. Not every every kid who falls on the ground, not every person who walks all in black, not every scream in a phone or whatever. Not everything has to have a meaning. It's just happening around us, and everything is connected, and we are connected to that. But if we are trying to find meaning into that, the obsessive part of our mind, the obsessive compulsive disorder, right? That part of the mind may get trapped into trying to explore what does that mean. And that's not healthy. However, things have meaning. Things have some resonance in some particular subtle way to us. And sometimes something is trying to tell us something. I don't know what is trying to tell us something. Is it our higher self? Is it God? Is it Guru? Is it some mysterious other power? But sometimes there are messages for us. Now, first of all, how do we differentiate something that has a meaning for me from something that is just happening and I don't have to give it any special meaning? Well, for that, I would say the difference is which of my how can I say this? Which part of myself is perceiving that? Now, if it's my intellectual mind, it's just a game. If it's my mind trying to give meaning to something happening in the street, I could do it, and I can make a game with that, and it could be fun, it can be entertaining, but it's nothing more. That's the intellectual mind. Or it can be my intuition. Now, intuition is something else. Intuition is that you are perceiving something hidden. You're perceiving something that is invisible. The intuition is our capacity to perceive the unseen, to see the unseen. Yeah. So there's something behind, and through this symbol or this sign or this, how do you put it, emblem or object, animal, whatever, through this thing is trying to give us some message. And then which part of myself is perceiving that? So for example, I'm walking in the street and all these things are happening. The motorbike, the phone, and the girl in black, and the kid. All these things are happening, and I can be aware of them. I can just see them neutrally. I can just, all right, this is happening, but I keep on moving. And then another person is passing by and they are saying something on the phone, and the words that they are saying somehow resonate strongly within me, and I feel that something is calling me from those words. And I have this intuition that there is something valuable there. Now, this is different. It's not about, what could this mean? What could that mean? It's about, there's something for you here. So your intuition is telling you, pay attention. This is for you. This is important. And then, sometimes the very intuition will already tell us why is it important. It will tell us the meaning. And sometimes later we have to engage the intellect. And now it's when we start to try to understand, well, okay, so that guy having that conversation on the phone is important for me. Why is it? And what does that mean? And what could it mean for me today? Right? So the intuition is the one which perceives that's relevant. And then we pick it up, and then the intellect is going to help to try to understand what the intuition was perceiving. Let's see, infinity. Exactly. It's only for unique or rare and unusual things happening. This is mentioned in Shakuna Shastra, and it's like science to interpret omens and even predict what can happen and prevent the bad. Yes, indeed. Yes. Very good. So there's so many things coming up. One, I sometimes talk about living behind the times, living with the times, or living ahead of the times. And I see the metaphor of living, of riding a horse looking backwards. And if you ride a horse looking backwards, you don't see any sign, because everything when it's happening is happening, and then you experience life as a fateful existence. Everything that happens is fate, everything is karmic, and you have to deal with it. And if you deal with it wrongly, you create more karma and it will come back, and you are always riding the horse backwards. Then that's living behind the times. When you turn around and you start facing forward, you may see everything as it's happening. So it's the very moment that something is happening. You're trying to, jump with the horse so you don't damage your back, right? Every time there is a little jump. And that's living with the times. But living ahead of the time is this intuitive perception that goes far away. And that's when you can intuitively see the signs, perceive what is happening. There's something hidden manifesting. Let me give you a metaphor. We are talking about the element of air. Okay, in case it wasn't clear, there's the earth and the water and the fire and the air. The fire is what gives us the capacity to see, and see is a function that is linked to the intellectual mind. So I'm not talking about the regular eyes. The third eye linked to the sixth chakra. 6 and 4 are connected, heart and third eye. And this is connected to our inspiration and intuition. So this is connected to the element of air. Now, how do we know that there is air? Well, very often, unless it's touching my skin, 4 and 6, you will recognize it. When I'm speaking, if you are starting to pay attention, you will hear some of the words. As I am saying those words, they are being aligned with what we are seeing in the Karan Kriya, yes? So, as it is touching, let me focus this. So as it's touching the skin, yeah, the air is touching the skin. Sometimes, most of the times, we don't see wind like that. So how do we know that there is wind? Because the wind is invisible. Now, we cannot see the wind, and we call it like the winds of destiny, or we can call it the fate. There's fate and there's destiny. Fate, I said, is when we are looking backwards riding the horse, and then we don't see where we are going, so we are just going with the karma. Now, when you turn around and you can still start to perceive these winds, you can guide the horse. Now, the metaphor of the horse can be also the metaphor of the boat. When we are talking about this other diagram, you will remember there is these 4 states of consciousness. Intuition doesn't happen here. Intuition happens here, on the 4 and the 6, on the wind. And if you know where the winds are blowing, you can move your sail to gather the winds. That means understand the sign, like you are suggesting, Infinity, to pay attention and perceive that this a sign that is telling you, look, this is important for you. And if you have this science to interpret these things, these omens, you can move your sails to gather that wind and empower yourself. And then you can move not towards your fate, but towards your destiny. So that's very interesting. Also very interesting because today is 18th of the 7th of 2024. And if you add all, that's 9, 7 is 16, and 8, that's 24, 2 plus 4 is 6. So we have the 4 and the 6, right? The fate and the destiny and the intuition and all that. So interesting that this conversation is happening today. Because now we know a little bit more about numbers, I can point these things out, and it's kind of fun because it's kind of magical. So, how do we know that there is wind? Well, normally we don't, because it's invisible. We cannot see the wind. However, we can see the leaves. There is a lot of wind today here outside, and we can see the leaves moving. And that's interesting, because the intuition works like that. You don't see the message or the messenger. You don't see the wind. You see the effect that the wind is having around. So you don't see, there's no direct message that you are getting it and understanding, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Like the perception of the hukam, the command. But you perceive that something is moving. This dog barking, this little kid falling on the ground, this person having this apparently random conversation on the phone, but suddenly they are saying words which are very important to me. So these are the little leaves that are moving. And when you can perceive the winds moving, you say, there is wind. And then if you have this understanding, you can open yourself and perceive what this wind means for you. And There's another thing as well, very interesting. Have you looked at a tree? When there is wind, you don't see all the leaves moving like that. You will see the leaves floating, and some of them will float like that, which apparently seems like they are floating backwards, or they are floating in a different direction, because they are being moved by the wind, but they are kind of like going all kinds of directions. So when you are having an intuition and you're perceiving the invisible, when you're seeing the unseen, you will see a lot of signs that are pointing in one direction, but some signs will point in different directions as well. And we have to not be confused what we are seeing. Am I just going to focus on one leaf, or am I going to see the whole totality of the tree that is pointing like that? So that takes a lot of sensitivity as well. And the thing with this is that most of us, and particularly men, we are quite closed to our intuition. We say that women are 16 times more intuitive than men. So, particularly for men, but in general, most people are not very open to their intuition, which means that to even perceive one sign is already a lot, right? Imagine seeing all these leaves moving around. So if we could see all the leaves that are moving, that would be it would be so clear and magical at the same time. But most of the time we walk through the street, there's plenty of signs around us telling us things, and we don't even notice. And the universe is speaking to us, the guru are speaking to us, and we are not hearing it. We are not ready to listen to it because we are not here. We are maybe here in our dream space, having a daydream, thinking about something else with the intellect. And then maybe we see something, and then maybe it's one of the leaves that is moving wrong. And then our mind will catch onto that and try to interpret it and make fun and entertaining, distracting ideas of why could this be happening. And then we misinterpret and we misunderstand it, and then we make decisions based on that. And then we blame it on our fate or our destiny. Or we say, you see, I shouldn't listen to signs. It was just the wrong sign. Well, you were just looking at a leaf, right? So there's something you can do when you are trying to formulate an important decision. You can ask for guidance. You can do it at night when you are ready to go to bed. And you can chant Sat Naam. Sat means truth. So chanting Sat Naam 3 times, Sat very long, and ask for guidance, and ask for, in a way, like 3 signs. So when you chant Sat Naam 3 times and you ask for 3 signs pointing in the direction of the decision you have to make. So you can chant that, but then you have to be the whole day, you have to be very, very attentive to when the signs come, and not jump to any conclusion, because it could be one of these leaves that are flying in the wrong direction. So now I spoke a lot about this as men, how difficult it is to perceive intuitions. Now there could be the other side as well. Women are 16 times more sensitive than men. Now when a woman perceives, she could be perceiving not 1 sign, but 16 signs. And it could be that she's perceiving a number of signs pointing in different directions, and intuitions of different things which are in different paths. And rather than feeling like, I don't know where to go because I don't have any sign, it could be the opposite. It could be like, so many signs, so many possibilities, I don't know where to go. So the ending result is the same, this not knowing what to do. But one could be from a lack of apparent signs that are pointing in that direction. The other one could stem from simply too many signs, too many intuitions, too many perceptions that are pointing in many directions, and you don't know what to do with that. So to me, the language of numbers helps, because when we are perceiving something, you can sense whether that something is happening on this realm, and these 4 and 6, or whether it's happening on this realm, on the 3 and 7. Because if it's 3 and 7, most likely my mind is making it up. So if I'm talking to somebody, how to distinguish the signal from the noise? Well, probably what I'm just saying right now. So Infinity, let's say you are telling me now about a sign that you saw. It happened to you this morning and you saw these signs and you were now extracting some form of interpretation out of those signs. And you're wondering, am I interpreting it correctly? Is this the path that I should take? Is this the path that I should go? Well, I will ask you, well, tell me about these signs. Tell me about what you perceive and tell me about what you think or what you feel that it means. And the language that you will utilize to describe it, I will listen to the numbers in that language. And that language will most likely point towards either this or this. So if I hear the language from here, I will understand that it was a clear intuition. And if I hear a language that is linked to the 3 and the 7, I will understand that this is mind. That is the mind speaking. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that one is good and one is bad. Intuition we should follow and mind we shouldn't. Because, again, we can have an intuition and not understanding it, and then the mind tries to explain it to us. And the very fact that if we were talking like this and you would be explaining to me, you would be utilizing your mind because you wanted me to understand. So I would be trying to relate to what you are saying and you would explain through your mind. However, the numbers behind are going to be quite revealing. So it's easier for me from the outside to understand through the language that you are utilizing in speaking. Now, when that's happening to me, what do? Through years of practice, I train myself to neutralize and to go into the neutral state and perceive what is happening. This thing that is happening, am I perceiving it from my mind or am I perceiving it from my intuition? And the language of the mind, the internal language of the mind and intuition are quite different. The mind thinks that it knows. The intuition is something connected to feelings, and a lot of it is connected to the I don't know and the unknown. So when there is a clear sign and there is something that you need to pay attention because they are trying to guide you, the sign is trying to guide you somewhere. When that's happening, the moment that you perceive it through the intuition, you're going to feel surprise, some sort of a feeling. It's difficult I'm trying to put words and it's already difficult because that's exactly the thing. The language of the intuition is it's the language of the unknown. So how can you speak about that? So already you can notice how, as I'm going into that state, it's difficult to vocalize it, right? From the mind, it's very easy to explain. But when the experience comes from 4 and 6, then it's much more a feeling. But it's a different feeling from the emotions and the instincts and things like that. This is a higher sort of feeling, and a neutral feeling, should be neutral. Now, when I'm perceiving that sign, that thing happens, okay, and I see it, and I have this feeling that that's important. And maybe I don't know immediately why is it important or what should I do with that, but I know that there's meaning about that. And I take note of it, and I take like a pin, right? And I say, okay, that's important. That thing happened, and I keep it in my awareness, in the background of my awareness, but I keep it there. And maybe later on something else will happen, and I'll keep it there. And then when the third thing happens, then they start to collide and make some sort of a shape. Yeah, the puzzle starts to take form, and they start to indicate something. Can we say that the mind is more related to ego and intuition to the source? Well, the mind is definitely more related to the ego. In fact, most often it's very difficult to separate because they go like that. We talked in the mind course how ego and mind are intertwined. An ego mind is intertwined with consciousness. They are like this. So it takes time to learn to separate ego, mind from consciousness, and it would be kind of the conversation we're having right now. Is it from the mind or is it from an intuitive perception, which means consciousness? And now intuition connected to the source. The intuition is our capacity to perceive what's coming from the source, let's say. If whatever is coming from the source, even some particular signs, like signs coming from the source, is through the intuition that we can perceive them. Yeah. You see, with numbers it's easier to see, because I mentioned how 5 is the number of marriage, because this is the number in the middle. So those numbers which add up to 5, they marry well together. So 1 plus 4 and 2 plus 3. Now, I'm trying to find a good diagram to put here. A simple one. Did we do I think the one with the introduction of the date of birth would be useful. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's here. I start to have so many drawings around my table. But sometimes I find it useful to have them all here because I can relate to them very quickly. Intuition is 4 and 6, is the 6th chakra. So these 4 and 6, the numbers that marry together very well are these 2 and these 2. And I talked about how this is the journey we are doing towards our destiny from the source, from the origin. And this is the obstacle, the karma and the drama. So the mind and the ego get attached to our emotions and our trauma, and they filter and they block the communication between, you can say it, heart and soul, if you wish. Heart and soul is one way to say it. Infinity said intuition and source. That's kind of another way to say it, because the 1, the seed, that's the soul. 9 is the spirit, and it's connected to the hukam, or the higher self. And from here come the commands and the meaningful messages of the direction where we have to move. Yeah, the objective and the direction. We were talking about this on Tuesday. And so what helps us to connect with this? Well, this one. 4 plus 1 is 5. So it's our intuitive perception and our consciousness which is going to allow us to have this perception. But remember, this is the thing in the middle is trying to stop that. Could you elaborate destiny a little? Do we have a predestined life? Oh yes, we can go into that. Sure. All right, so I'm ready to move into the destiny, but Infinity, how is it going for you? Let me add something else in relationship to this. Let's say now you perceive there is a sign and you perceive that is meaningful. Okay, now how do we understand it? How do we interpret it? I find the best way to interpret things is always through your self-reflection, rather than going externally to anywhere. I remember when I was a little kid, my sister had a book on dreams. And it was fascinating. You know, if you dream with a fish or something, then what does that mean? And all right, I mean, it's an interesting game, but most of it is mental. So what that symbol has a meaning for you, nobody else knows except you. So in any book, they can talk about the meaning of birds. But to you, bird is something connected very specifically to something in your life. Or maybe, the first time you move out of your home, you live near the sea and you used to walk in the beach and there would be seagulls. So seagull for you is a symbol for freedom. And then you look at a book and they will talk about seagulls, how they are predatory and they are kind of like rats with wings, and maybe they will talk about how they are, I don't know, they will talk about it in a certain line. And when you try to say, well, okay, I saw a seagull, what does that mean? Well, where are you going to go to find the meaning for that? The meaning is for you. The message is for you. If the message is truly for you, it's going to be encoded in a way that you understand it because it comes from your source, from your higher self. So rather than going to particular texts or finding. It can be interesting and it can be nice to explore, but I find it very valuable to explore for myself. What does it mean to me? What does it mean to me? Now, a good way to train for that, I talked about this some other video long ago. It's to make things meaningful to you. So if I'm brushing my beard, I am putting order into my emotions. Yeah, if I'm brushing my hair, I'm bringing order to my thoughts. If I'm washing myself, I'm cleaning myself from toxicity and impurities. If I'm, grabbing the bus, I'm grabbing an opportunity. Things like that. Whatever you do in your life, you can give it a certain meaning and you make everything meaningful in a way. Then when something comes and it's meaningful to you, it will be easier to understand what is the meaning behind, because you are used to connecting to this sort of archetypal energy behind any mundane thing that could be going on. Does it make sense? So let me infinity if this kind of explains and relates to what you were saying, and if there is any thing that is still hanging, just interact with me in the chat and let me know where is this going. How are you with this conversation? And in the meantime, I will go towards the destiny, which Sohail was suggesting. Do we have our predestined life? Well, this is one of the aspects that it's like a paradox. There's so many paradoxes in the spiritual path. On one side, there is a very clear difference between faithful existence and destiny. Faithful existence, you are moving through the world, riding the horse backwards, things are happening to you, everything seems karma, and you just deal with it. And if you react in the wrong way, you create more karma and it will come back. And yes, everything is already, the fate is written down. So there's nothing to do. That's one way. Destiny would be, there is a higher destiny independent from the fate, which is, let's say, beyond karma. So we don't have to do everything in our life in a reactive mode, like riding the horse backwards, but we can change, move forward, and look where the horse is going, and take the what's it called? Reins of the horse, and direct where is the horse going. So when we do this turnaround, when we live ahead of the times, we can see the possibilities of where life is going, and we can choose. Now, in spite of this, when we read the scriptures, they will say that our destiny is written, sometimes they say it's written in your forehead. So your forehead already has written your destiny. And we have very little to do about it. That's what it will happen, and it will happen. So when you're reading this, sometimes the scriptures will say this in one page, and then you turn the page and it says, but there is a little possibility. You have 1% of choice, right? Everything is already written, but you have 1% of choice. You can change a little bit of what is written. So you can, within the destiny that is pre-written, you can kind of find your own way to manifest that destiny. But, so it's giving the door open. The door is still open. On one side is not everything is already written. On the other side, you say, well, you have a 1% capacity to change. But then you read somewhere else in the scripture that says, well, the smallest pebble can move a big mountain. Yeah, it can create a landslide. Chaos theory, a butterfly moving its wings can create a hurricane in Tokyo, right? So this 1%, it's so important. And I like that because of numbers as well. The 1%, this one little thing that we can do, this one little step that we can give. Look, this is the quadrant of the soul. The 1 and the 9, that's the essence, is the soul. So that little voice, that's the voice of the soul. So when we see everything seems a disaster, everything goes in a particular direction, that's the fate. And they say, well, it's for me. But there's one little element that we can change. Well, I pay a lot of attention to that little element. Actually, when a student would come after a class and they would say, can I ask you just a little thing? When they start like this, it's generally something important. So these little things, sometimes behind there is a lot of things happening. So starting with this little thing up, a big waterfall opens up. So on one side, everything is already written. On the other side, there is 1% of choice of what we can manifest. And we also say, you give one step towards the universe gives 1,000 towards you. So this one little step that you can give, it can have it can change everything. So the way I understand these teachings is that there is a destiny. You are an acorn. You, Sohail, are an acorn, okay? Sohail, you're an acorn. You're going to be an oak tree. That's your destiny, okay? You cannot change it. You cannot be an apple tree. You cannot be a pear tree. You cannot be an avocado tree, no matter how much you like avocados or mangoes or whatever. You are going to be an oak tree. That's your destiny. Now, what kind of oak tree are you going to be? Now, there's many ways of manifesting that. You can, if you live in faith, it's like you are trying to do something else. You're trying to become this apple tree. It's never going to happen. And in fact, you're going to grow you're going to try to grow in a way, but it's not going to work because that's not who you are. And then you're going to grow also. There's these other trees around you and they are pressing you down. And rather than, decide, I am an acorn. Okay, what kind of oak tree can I become? And then choosing that destiny, which is the paradox, because they say, look, you only have 1% of choice. But then what do you choose? Do you choose to live in harmony with your destiny, or do you try to choose something that is different? Because they say, well, if they give you 1% of choice, you want to choose that thing which is in harmony with the destiny and harmony with the nature. And if you do that, then you can grow as a wonderful oak tree. But again, it can be many different kinds of oak tree. It can be great, tall, huge oak tree that generations and generations will sit under your shadow, and they will remember you and they will honor you and they will be blessed by your shadow in the midday sun, right? It's a beautiful oak tree. Or it can be a little tiny, silly little oak tree that, it will, with the first wind, it's going to go away. So still, even if the destiny is clear, there's still many ways it can manifest, and you can choose to manifest in one way or another. But choice requires consciousness, and that requires turning around in the horse. So when you turn around, you look forward, and you are in contact with your essence, meaning in contact with your acorn, understanding, that's my essence, that's my gift in life. This is where I come from. This is my gifts. This is the things that are, what am I good at? And those are in service of my destiny. And then choosing that, and then being open to perceive the signs, like Infinity was pointing out, perceive the signs so that I can manifest my greatest destiny. Hopefully that clarifies that. Let me read some of the messages from Infinity, and then Sohail, you can let me know how you heard that. So just finishing, Sohail, do we have a predestined life? Like you are saying, in a way, they are saying everything is already written. And when we get to the end of life, you will look back and you will see how there was only one possible path that it took you from where you were in the beginning to where you are right now. When we are now and when we're looking forward, we see many possibilities and many paths to move ahead. But the day that we will die, when we look back, we will see that there was only one path that took us where we are right now. So at the end, in a way, we can see that it was pre-written. Infinity, there is a message that is already gone a little bit up, but I will read it. I lately tried a very ancient form of martial arts, and it has many movements mimicking animals. So I noticed doing each animal, it manifests something related. So, for example, doing the lion movement got me next day many situations related to like royalty, being treated like a king, and that's way beyond chance. Yeah. It never happened like that and in such intensity. Interesting. Similar thing happens when do many warrior positions during yoga. And also I tried doing some front and back flips, and things are like changing to the complete opposite of my routine, going totally the opposite. Absolutely. Why do you think that all these asanas in yoga are done in that way, and why are they mimicking animals very often? So sometimes we say, look, if you have a problem, go do the shoulder stand. Yeah, you know that where you're upside down with the feet up and the shoulders on the ground, with the hands on the back. Do the shoulder stand and try to think about your problem. Because if you need to turn it around, you need to change it. Because sometimes the problem is just, I cannot solve it, I don't know what to do. Just turn your head, put the body upside down, and then think about that. And yes, warrior postures are going to bring the warrior in you, and people are going to notice it, they're going to sense it, and it will be they will not be able to say why. Maybe they will not even say that they feel different, but they will behave differently. So that's also going to open different possibilities and possible destinies. So it is for us to take responsibility on how we are feeling and change it so that we can bring change in our lives. So for example, when you connect to the energy of the lion, when you are walking in the street, you are going to walk more like a lion. And people are going to relate to that. And they're going to see let's say the alpha in you. And they are going to relate to you in that context, in that sense. So when we are, for example, one exercise I do in trainings often, I ask the students to walk around the room as if they were the kings of the room or the queens of the room. And I say, well, if you go into a restaurant, imagine you are the king of the restaurant. Not even the owner, you are the king of the restaurant. So, as you are talking to even the people who are working there, Sat Naams, hey, thank you for serving me. It's like, thank you for working in my restaurant. It's a way of, this is my space. Now, there is a way of doing this coming from the ego and feeling superior to others and feeling, Waheguru, Sahel, yeah, Waheguru. There's a way to do this from the ego, like I feel I am better than others, but there's a way to do this from our own dignity, royalty, and elevation. Why not? Why should we not walk with the head up? We bow down and then we stand straight. We bow down and we stand straight. I bow down to my guru, I bow down in my altar, I bow down to the teachings, and then in the street I'm going to be standing straight. Standing straight, with strength, with stability, yeah, with all these STs that I was talking about at the beginning of the talk today. So, embody your own lion, but also explore the other animals, because sometimes we get too focused on one. So be the gazelle, be the seagull. Connect to the other animals and explore them in yourself and see, because we're also manifesting these archetypal energies, and because maybe we were a lion in another life. So why not bring that little bit of your soul back and reconnect it in some way. All right, I think having reached the ST sound again, it makes sense for doing this meditation that I was suggesting at the beginning. So thank you for the conversation. I hope it was useful and of some service to you. And we're going to be doing this meditation for tremendous strength, ST sound. Meditation for tremendous strength. It's from the Kundalini Yoga tradition, so we already tuned in at the beginning. And there's one more message coming up. But why does this also work equally when one changes their self-image without doing any external action? Just by a shift in self-perception, this also happens. Well, changing your self-image is an external action. you are showing yourself differently. When you change your self-image, is gonna have an effect on the outside as well. But even if you don't change anything in your self-image, you can just change within yourself without changing anything outside, and people are gonna perceive it. Because there is a congruence between the outside and the inside, and there is gonna be a projection and a presence that it goes beyond what the eyes can see. And somebody in front of you, they will perceive this projection and presence, this PR sound, projection and presence and perceive. We're going into the 4 and 6 now. They're going to perceive the lion in you, even if you don't dress differently. And you have just channeled the lion through these exercises that you were doing from martial arts. So yes. And it could be interesting, whatever situation you're going to go in life, what am I going to channel? What form of energy am I going to be connected to? If you're going to go to a job interview, I could imagine being a lion could be useful. Probably more useful than trying to go as a gazelle, right? Maybe depending on the job, but most likely. Anyway, we're going to be doing this meditation for tremendous strength. And you put your fingers like a TP. And so it's like this. Let me check. I think it was on the level of the throat, I think. I don't see it, but I think it's at the level. So the TP is the higher part of the TP is in front of your throat. And with these fingers, you're going to leave. The index and the middle finger are touching, but very softly. So these two are touching very softly. The ring and the little fingers are going to be pressing very, very, very hard. So you press very hard on these two. Yeah, these two are pressing very hard. These two are just lightly touching. The thumb don't even touch. So there is a little bit of gap. There's a little bit, I don't know if I can show you, a little bit of gap in between the thumbs. So a lot of strength in the little and the ring finger, just touching the middle and the index, and a gap between the thumbs. So let's do that. Close your eyes. And breathe as slow, as long, and as deep as you can, keeping full awareness of the different pressures of the fingers. It's a short meditation. It's only 8 minutes, but it can be quite uncomfortable, especially the first minutes. So be aware of the pressures. Remember that the little and the ring fingers are pressing very hard. The middle finger and the index fingers are just lightly touching, very softly touching. The thumbs do not touch, but keep the shape of the TP. And the breath, I repeat, is slow, as long, and as deep as you can. Eyes closed if you can, if you're not driving or walking in the street. Concentrate on the pressure on the fingers and the breath. As slow and as deep as you can breathe. Very slow, with a lot of concentration. While you are keeping the pressure, see if you can breathe even slower. Now, on the next inhale, bring the arms up and stretch as high as you can. Hold the breath and stretch, stretch, stretch. Keep the position, exhale. Inhale. Hold the breath, stretch. Keep the position, exhale. One more time, inhale. Hold the breath, stretch up, up, up. And exhale. You can separate the hands and let the hands come down slowly. Thank you very much. The pressure in the fingers helps it is said that the parasympathetic balances the it. This is the message from the meditation. Different fingers have different effects. So maybe someday we'll do something about mudras. For today, I think it's enough. Thank you very much for the conversation on destiny. And I will be away for my holidays, but I will continue posting videos from past live streams. And I will see you on my way back. Let's chant the long time sun all together. May the long time sun shine upon you. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. I'm the pure light within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you very much. Until next day, Sat Nam. Thank you for watching, everyone.